What's up, dudes? Welcome to my review for Street Fighter 6. I don't make a whole lot of reviews in general when it comes to fighting games or anything else. I just tend to really enjoy them and enjoy how they change, because my review for Season 1 of Street Fighter 6 will probably be completely different from my review for Season 2, because they'll change mechanics, they'll change characters and how they work. And this is after 2,223 matches as of when I'm recording this. So it'll be more by then, and almost half of those matches with Ken. So to give a little context in this review, this is like my first real competitive Street Fighter. I've dabbled in Third Strike in the past, really like it, probably my favorite fighting game. Never really touched Street Fighter 4, again, dabbled with it when I was a kid because I was like 10 or 11 when the game came out. And Street Fighter 5, I put about 70 hours on it, but never really made it past like silver, or I think I may have made it into gold. So I wasn't very good at all. But Ken's always been my favorite character. I really came into this one with, I'm here at the start. It's the best time to learn a fighting game. It's the best time to learn a new fighting game series, because they all play different, so let's go hard. And we did. We have went hard, and we are like a diamond player, a late plat diamond player. I'm not the best, so this is not a review from a master. This is not a review from a professional player, but I have been playing fighting games for around 10-11 years now. But Street Fighter 6, I mean, let's just get it out in the open like right now real quick. You know, this is probably one of the best fighting games to ever release on launch, right? I probably said that a little funky, but this is the best, one of, if not the best fighting game on launch that we've ever had. And honestly, it's probably number 2 in the series as far as Street Fighter games go. I have played them all, but this game, it just came out with so much, right? Like, we have the World Tour mode, which I'm not going to talk too much on because I really haven't played it all that much. I put a couple hours into it. We have all the extra modes, the replay system. I mean, there's just so much in this game. The online's been a little rough at launch. Nothing too crazy. I haven't had any like ridiculous matches, but there is a lot of disconnecting here and there. But overall, this is probably the most interesting fighting game to release in the past 5 or so years, right? Probably since, I would say, MKX. Guilty Gear Strive was really good. It had a lot of interesting mechanics, but it was definitely very dumbed down from, I think it was Guilty Gear XRD Rev 2. I want to say that was the last Guilty Gear that came out before Strive. I could be completely wrong there. You're more than welcome to correct me in the comments. But this game is just, it has so much to it. And there's a lot of people on the internet complaining, like their main big complaint when it comes to Street Fighter 6 is there's a lot of stuff in this game that feels scrubby. The dive impacts feel scrubby. A lot of the characters' frame data feels a little scrubby, like you can just mash light buttons and just break everything. But I promise you there's a method to all the madness when it comes to this. Don't get me wrong, there's definitely a few cheap things in this game, but even the cheap things aren't really, they all have a counter. Everything in this game has a counter to it, right? And I think that will lead me into my main point on why this game is so good. But to talk about probably the most glaring issue that a lot of people have with this game, it's definitely drive impact. If I would have reviewed this game about a week and a half, 2 weeks into it coming out and me playing it, I probably would have gave this shit like a 5 out of 10, right? Like, drive impact had me, it still has me, like, beating my head against the wall, right? Like, it feels, in some cases, it feels like the cheapest fucking game mechanic in a fighting game to ever have been thought of. But when you really boil it down, drive impact is probably the most balanced feature in the game. You want to talk about some real like cheap shit, it's probably DJ's and Jury's drive rush, their low drive rush, their drive rush mix-ups. You know, that's cheap, that feels cheap. But that's just a broken character. When it comes to game mechanics, a broken game mechanic can really shift how people view the game. I really do feel like this game mechanic and the game mechanics on Street Fighter 6 really come down to being a knowledge check, right? What catches me the most, and you might see it in some of this gameplay footage, is Street Fighter has some of the easiest special conversions that they've ever had, like in history. If you played Third Strike or even 4 and sometimes 5, you'll know what I'm talking about. On this game, it is super easy to hit confirm into a special even on block. So you can really get caught up, especially with a pressure god like Ken or sometimes even Jury. You can really get caught up with just pressing buttons and going into specials instead of kind of baiting your opponent into something. You can really get caught up in just crouching forward into medium Genrai kick, and if you keep doing that over and over again off of hit stun because you hit the last crouching forward medium Genrai kick, you hit that last one, so you're trying to get a cheap one again. If you just keep doing that, you're gonna get blown up because they can DI the hell out of that. If you get caught up in doing standing fierce into heavy dragon lash, I think that's what the move's called, on Ken. If you get caught up in doing that and all of your pressure, DI is going to blow you the fuck up, and you're going to be sitting there like, wow, that's just a get out of jail free card. It's so goddamn cheap. And then you sit back after the match, and after you get done being tilted, and you're like, yeah, I really did just keep doing that shit. Like, I could not have made it easier for them to just DI my ass every time, and I didn't adapt. I think that's really what Street Fighter 6 comes down to. A lot of the complaints come down to knowledge checks and whether or not you're actually playing the fighting game, or you're just trying to play practice mode with another online player and they ain't having that shit, right? There are definitely some things in this game that are cheap. I think DJ is probably one of the best characters to ever be put in a fighting game ever. And yeah, I know I'm a Ken player, but that character is cheap as shit. In my opinion, like, he's just got so much. But there's a lot to learn in this game too. I say knowledge check just about everything in this game is an absolute knowledge check. Playing against any character, it doesn't matter where Tokido or Daigo put them on the tier list, or where, you know, the other Japanese insane players put them on the tier list. Like, every character you go up in this game will blow your ass up if you don't know what you're doing. Dawson, yeah, people got him as the worst character in the game. He will still blow your ass up if you don't know how to get in against a Dawson player. If you can't figure it out, and if you don't know how from previous Street Fighter games, you're going to get blown up. Lily is supposedly, according to a lot of American tier lists, the worst character in the game. She's also the character on this game that I have the lowest win rate against, with Jury being my highest win rate, even though she's another S tier character according to everybody. You will get blown up by every single character in this game. You know why I'm better against Jury? Because I play her more. You know why I'm worse against Lily? Because I don't play her as much. And her shit really is a knowledge check when you go up against it, just like every other character in the game. A lot of people are saying Honda's broken, this and that and the other. You can parry almost everything he does. And if you go into the lab and manage to get a perfect parry down on every version of the butt slam, well, you just took a lot of Honda's kit out right there. You don't have to DI his headbutt. You can parry that as well. There goes another big piece of his kit. Blanca, I'll give you Blanca. You can have Blanca. He's pretty damn cheap. But all these mechanics, they're probably, I would say, probably some of the most fine-tuned fighting game mechanics we've ever had in a fighting game. Like, Marvel vs. Capcom, Dragon Ball FighterZ included, Mortal Kombat, like, Guilty Gear, every fighting game I played. This has some of the deepest mechanics I've ever played in a fighting game, and they are some of the most fine-tuned. You change one thing to do with the drive mechanic in this game, whether it's impact, whether you make the startup longer or less, you give it 1 frame of invincibility, you make certain things take more or take less drive meter, you mess with that when it comes to drive rush, the frames on that, how much meter it takes, anything like that. You're completely changing the way the game plays, like, entirely. This is one of the, if not the most fine-tuned fighting games I've ever played. Like, it feels like it would be a completely different game if one thing was changed. And I think that's crazy, the amount of detail that went into this mechanic, the drive mechanic in this game. And to beat it all, it comes from a Street Fighter game, which, in my opinion, playing a lot of other Street Fighters, at least since 4, they've been the fighting games that have lacked the most in mechanics. Even MK11, a game that I absolutely hate, felt like it had a lot more mechanics than Street Fighter V, at least until the last season, where I think it was the drive, or the trigger or something. It wasn't trigger reversal, trigger evade, or something like that. The V evade, I don't know. It was some shit that got added in the last season, and it made it a lot more in depth. But Street Fighter since around 4 has felt like the fighting game that always lacks in character archetype, game mechanics, shit like that, and even like other game modes beside arcade mode. But damn, 6 came out swinging. I would say the only complaint that I really have with this game are throw loops, but as someone like Maximilian has said, and he makes a very valid point. It's hard to argue it, even though it's still annoying as hell. If throw loops were not a thing in this game, parry would be absolutely broken. It's, again, fine-tuned in a way where everything kind of works in harmony and can't work without the other being strong. Because if you take away throw loops, then parry becomes too strong and you just have no Oki on wake up, right? You have no Oki when your opponent's down. You just don't have any. It's so finely tuned. It's actually insane. Another thing I will agree with, but I think it all comes back around, is I'm not a big fan of the base roster in this game. Like, yeah, we got all the originals, Ken, Cammy, Ryu, Honda, Dawson, all of those, Chun-Li, and they're all pretty fun. But this roster just feels lacking in some way. Not the same way that Street Fighter V was lacking when it released, but it definitely just feels like it's missing a couple things. Like, Manon and Marissa, great new characters. JP can go fuck himself. Great new characters, but it just feels like we don't have enough because of the way the game kind of plays. Some of the characters definitely feel like they play the same. I feel like I'm going to be playing Ken and Juri the same way. I play both of them. I play them pretty similar, minus which buttons I'm using. I feel like if I was to play Luke or DJ, even maybe, I'd be playing them the same way as I play Ken and Juri. And if I played Cammy, I'd at least be playing her the same way that I play Juri for the most part. And I feel like that kind of goes for Kimberly. And when you get down to command grab characters like Manon and Zangief, however you want to say that, I feel like I play them kind of similar. For the most part, Manon definitely has better movement, so you're playing her a little bit different. I think Marissa's the one outlier. She's kind of like big and lumbering, but she controls neutral with her ridiculous buttons, and she's got some pretty damn good ways to get in. And she's a striker with a grapple with a command grab, so she's kind of like the outlier here, that she plays like in her own way. And obviously JP plays in his own way too. He's the Mortal Kombat character in Street Fighter. It's fucking wild. But that would be the like one other kind of complaint that I have. But then again, we're getting Rashid in like 14 days, and he looks absolutely insane. I'm hoping he doesn't play similar to like Juri or Cammy, because he definitely looks like Rushdown mix-up. I'm hoping they can figure that part of the game out, but even then, the characters play different enough to still be able to have fun with all of them, and definitely want to learn the other ones. Like, I've had a hankering to learn Ken, Cammy, Marissa, Manon, Juri, and I'm looking at Chun-Li next. So, and I've learned more than that. Those are just the ones that I'm really proficient with. Ken and Juri especially. So, I mean, they're still fun enough to play, so it can't really even be a complaint. But, I don't know, man. This game is really good. I definitely recommend buying it. It's probably one of the best packaged fighting games, or one of the best packaged video games that we've had in recent years, because a lot of games like to release broken and everything else. But Street Fighter 6 definitely didn't. The online was a little whack, and until you really get used to the knowledge check game mechanics, it feels really cheap. But once you really do, once you get used to it, or at least accept it and choose to understand it more, you'll see how finely balanced it is, in my personal opinion at least. So overall, I'd probably give Street Fighter 6 a 10 out of 10. I'd give it an 11 out of 10, just for how much work it went into it. That's without Akuma too. I'm waiting on Akuma, but he won't come out until next year. I'm big sad about that. So, but yeah, I give this game an 11 out of 10, 10 out of 10, whatever you want to say, 5 out of 5, 3 Kings out of 4 Ryus. But yeah, that's my opinion. Let me know what you do think in the comments down below. What's your rating for this game? How do you feel about it? Let's have a discussion. A civil one. But yeah, thanks for watching, Dukes. My name's Toot, and I've been your host, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.